All right, today we're talking about finding meaning and calling as students move through college and even as they might look ahead to graduate or professional school. Regina, you're a faculty member in the Department of Communication and Associate Provost. Meredith, you're an advisor in academic advising and an instructor in Fuse 101 and in Fuse 102. Regina, we'll start with you. How did you find or create the path that you're on now?
Well, my high school self thought there were really only three options, and that would be to go to college so I could study business, law, or something in health, and then I would become a doctor, a lawyer, and a manager. And um, uh, as I started my freshman year, I loaded up on science classes so I could become an orthodontist because I had an awesome orthodontist as a young person. And that's just the trajectory without any reflection that I set myself on. But I did have an English composition class. And I found at the end of the fall semester, I was slugging through the science classes, but I was happy in the writing class. And the same thing happened again in the spring, slugging through and doing fine in the science-based classes, but was at my happiest when I was writing and working with information, and promptly informed my parents that I was not going to be an orthodontist at the end of my freshman year, and started enrolling in more English and communication classes. I didn't know what I was going to do with that, but I did discover that I really did like working with information and words and crafting ideas and presenting information, which if I would have been true to myself, that's where I was happiest in high school, in creative writing classes and literature classes. So as I moved through college and moved into upper level classes studying communication, I developed a relationship with my advisor, who was my teacher, and she wrote on a paper one time, "If you do not go to graduate school, I will kill you!" exclamation point. And I had never even thought of that as an option for myself. And as it all unfolded, I enrolled in a graduate program to continue my studies and was invited to take the role of teaching assistant in some lower level communication courses. And that's where the light bulb came on, that to be in a classroom of individuals who were studying something that I was passionate about, and recognizing that maybe they had some insecurities about public speaking or did not have confidence in writing, but to meet them where they were, and that challenge of figuring out how to ignite that interest and excitement or even just basic skills was incredibly gratifying. And so then, as I figured out that you could pursue a career in higher ed, working with adult learners and traditional age students was really gratifying to me. And as I quickly learned in academia, that to teach is to wear many different hats. And I cannot imagine a job that I could have discovered that allows me to draw on so many different skills and interests and connections. I just can't imagine a career. So that's how I got there, by moving out of 3 buckets that were predefined and allowing myself to be true to my real interest.
Oh, thank you. That's terrific. And Meredith, how did you find or create the path you're on now?
When I went into my undergraduate, I was an undeclared student, not because I didn't know what I enjoyed, but because I thought that I shouldn't major in it. And so I took lots of different classes in lots of different areas, all of which I really enjoyed, and found lots of different things that were interesting to me. But I kept coming back to my primary passions, which were creative writing and theater, which of course then invited the question of what I was going to do with those things. I knew that I didn't want to be a costume designer. And so I continued to take classes in those areas and fuel my passions and gain the disciplinary and collaborative skills in both of those areas, and also continue conversations with my faculty members and mentors about what I could do with these areas beyond be a costume designer and be a poet. How could I take these things that I was interested in and transform them into different careers? And I had some mentors that encouraged me towards graduate studies in both directions. And they encouraged me to take some time outside of school to examine each of those areas and get outside of academia before entering back in. And then when I was in graduate school, I also had the opportunity to teach lower level freshman composition, literature classes, and creative writing. And I also had my eyes opened to the student success areas through my work in the Writing Center, which then connected me to academic advising. And I found that my real passion was in helping students carve their own path and then really find the direction that was right for them and make sense of their whole curriculum. And so the way that my faculty members had helped me, that was something that I wanted to do and I hadn't known was even a possibility.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you. As a follow-up question for both of you, how do your experiences shape how you talk with students about their paths? We'll start with Regina.
Two parts to that. The first is I like to remind students that it's your education and it's your life, and to find a faculty member and advisor who will partner with you in understanding what those interests are and what's a fit can help illuminate some things that are much more nuanced than the typical big buckets that we're confronted with when we go off to college. The second part of that is no one will know what makes you tick, your advisor, your teachers, if you don't tell your story. And you have to tell your story, your authentic self, honor it, not what will make the external pressures in your life satisfied. But when you operate from a place of authenticity, it attracts interest. We like to hear where people are coming from, what motivates them. And then with that comes support and allies. And when you have support and when you have allies, opportunity will come. But it all goes back to operating and being true to yourself, your authentic self.
Meredith?
I think the biggest way that my path has informed how I talk with students is to encourage them to seek and pursue curiosity. So the things that are truly interesting and passionate and students want to learn, I encourage you to follow that forward full force. And then finding ways that those skills or interests or passions can connect to any number of different facets of your life. Seeking those connections from what is interesting to you will open up doors that you didn't know existed. You didn't even know had a handle on them. Mm-hmm. And I think that, being open to learning new things and learning about what is most interesting to us is how we will find new ways to make meaning.
Oh, that is fabulous. Well, let's end on that. Thank you both very much. I know that students will get a lot out of this, and I just appreciate your time doing it. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Joslin.